What's going on, everyone? My name's AB Frank, but just call me Alex down in the comments. And welcome to the Bookish Report, where I talk mainly about Gaslamp horror and Gaslamp fantasy stuff like Dracula, or a modern example is Laura Purcell's The Silent Companions. But today, I've got a review of 1988's Midnight's Lair by Richard Laymon. This hardcover edition that I've got came in an Abominable Book Club box a few months back. I already had a paperback version from that I recently actually got just before this came. So I'd never read it. I wanted to give Richard Laymon a go. I hear his name quite a lot. So first off, when you've got the Lair in the title, it makes it sound a bit spooky, but it's not. Richard Laymon was born in Chicago in 1947. He grew up in California and has a BA in English Literature from Willamette University, Oregon, and an MA from Loyola University, Los Angeles. He has worked as a school teacher, a librarian, as a report writer for a law firm. Bear those qualifications in mind as we get into the review. Mordoc's Cave is one of the wonders of the world, a place where thousands of sightseers every year take an awe-inspiring boat trip on a lake deep beneath the Earth's surface and marvel at nature's handiwork. But the darkness is also the home of things nature never intended, things violent, bestial, and obscenely evil. When a sudden power failure incapacitates the lifts to the surface, a group of tourists are trapped in the underground depths. Cold and scared, without lights or food, their only hope is to find an escape route through the sealed-off eastern end of the cavern. But their explorations uncover a nest of horrors that have lain hidden in the cavern's secret recesses for generations, and their idyllic underground journey suddenly becomes a nightmare trip through hell as they find themselves battling for survival against the creatures of the abyss. Now, I've not done many negative reviews on the channel, but if you remember last year, or if you've gone back and seen at some point an older video when I did a review of the Darcy Coates book, The Haunting of Ashburn House, I said in that I'm not a bully, I'm not trying to, offend anyone, I'm just giving you information so you can make a buying decision. However, I'm not going to hold back in this one. In this one, there's enough mistakes to keep you busy for a lifetime. But don't worry, this isn't going to be a miserable 0-star review or 1-star review. It's 1.5. And the reason it gets rated so highly, why I've been so generous, is because there's this character in it who's like young and naive, and you think something bad is going to happen to her during this book. And then something does indeed happen, and it had me feeling like, really? That is what you planned for this character? That is the story that you're telling for this character? But then there's a twist, and it's satisfying, so therefore I've rated it quite highly. And also the pacing was good in this book, because there's some paragraphs in there that are like one sentence or a few lines or a few words, like 4 or 5 words, so you can find yourself going down the page at a real rate. Mercifully, it's a short book as well, so you're not going to be hanging around with it for too long. A quick example then of a couple of the mistakes. So there's these 4 characters, 2 men, Hank and Brad, 2 women, Lynn and Chris. Lynn, I think, at this point has gone. She left them to it. She's backed out while they've gone on this rescue mission to help these people that are trapped in the cave. Then they see some bodies. Brad, remember that name, Brad, he's over here being sick because they've seen some bodies. Hank is with Chris here, and I'll read you this bit. Chris shook and whimpered against him. He stroked her back with his free hand. That's Hank. Bart was still hunched over, heaving. Richard? Who's Bart? Richard, have you been cheating on Brad with Bart again? Another mistake here then. So they've come across some bodies and they think there's a maniac lying around or lurking somewhere in this cave whilst they're on this rescue mission. I don't want to meet him. What was meant to have been written here was, but what's actually written is, Hugh, I don't want to meet him. Hugh, When you read internal thoughts, they're normally in italics, so you know that they're not being narrated to you, they're what the character's thinking at the time. They're normally in italics. However, in this book, they're not normally in italics. There's a few occasions where you come across them in italics, and when I've come across those italicised passages, I thought, oh, they've accidentally got it right here. They accidentally did the formatting right because they did their best not to get it right for the entire book. As early as page 1, which actually isn't page 1, it's page 7, because all the front matter and all this fodder where they list the author's previous publications, that counts as pages. We have another problem that I've seen, and we shift from third person to first person midway through a sentence, which could have been solved by Italicising. This is the bit. Boss's son or not, she thought, I'll have to do something about this nonsense before it drives me nuts. Why is it not boss's son or not, she thought, she'll have to do something about this nonsense? She'll, not I'll. Why do we go to the first person? And it's not italicised, so it doesn't tell me that that's what she's thinking. In his defence, he does write, boss's son or not, she thought, but that's kind of redundant. Italicise it, or narrate it in the third person like you are doing. So let's get on to the characterization in this book, and there is absolutely no character work at all. They are thinner than the pages that they're written on. They're not believable. They're annoying. They're arseholes for arseholes' sake. At one point I just wrote why on a post-it note and stuck it in there. Why are you doing this to each other? There's not been any antagonising. Why are you just starting to antagonise one another for no reason? There's not been any build-up. They're just being arses for arses' sakes. Always, there's a character doing something sexual or looking at someone in a sexual way or thinking about something sexual, and it's inappropriate for the situation. They are stuck underground, or they are, if you were following the people at the top coming down on a rescue mission, they are trying to get in there, and there's all these sexual, like, little situations. Why? This whole book is written over a situation which lasts for a few hours, and there's two characters, this guy and the woman, meet while they're trapped down there. At some point towards the end, they tell each other that they love each other when they're in each other's arms and they've been rescued and all that. Excuse me? You met like 3 hours ago. And so there's these 4 people on a rescue mission coming in. One of them's called Lynn, who's a bit slutty, and she's been like grinding, rubbing up against someone that's close in the caves, in the tight spaces in the caves. And she gets wet and it's freezing cold water, so she just takes everything from the waist upwards off. And there's a lantern the guy's carrying Hank, and she's just like stood in front of it, getting warm, like, with her tits out. Richard, come here a minute. This is not how people act. And there are plot holes in this book as well. So there's these like flesh-eating carnivorous people that have been like trapped in there and bred, and the mouth to the cave on the outside world, that's been bricked up, and then this particular vein to the cave has been bricked up as well, so they're trapped in this thing, and the tour goes on down here and no one knows about them. The wall gets broken because people are trying to get out, releasing these people into the thing. They kill someone, and there's a few people hiding underneath some walkway where the person was killed. These creatures say, like, we need to go and get all the others, because if they get up out of the elevator shaft, then they'll get out and tell everyone about us. These things have been behind that. They don't know that there's an elevator or 2 elevators or any elevators. They were put in way after they've been like that's been bricked up for 60 years in this book. So that was annoying. And like I just said, somebody was killed and then eaten on the walkway. So the 3 of them have gone in the water up to the necks. And like here, above their heads, that's the walkway where someone's being eaten. Right there, they can hear it. Then the creatures go off to get everyone else. And then they're like talking now, these people who are hiding. I don't know why you would just start talking in that situation. Why are you not whispering? Or my preferred method, silence. So then there's these like 15, 16-year-old characters, a boy and a girl. They like go off from the group while they're waiting to be rescued, and they sneak off, and while they snuck off, they find a sleeping bag and a bottle of whiskey. Inexplicably, randomly, never explained, there's whiskey and a sleeping bag down there. This cave that you can't access apart from on a tour, using those elevators that we've just spoke about. And anyway, the girl out of these 2, she drinks some. She gets drunk, she passes out, she wakes up asking for aspirin in like an hour. All in like an hour. Ricky, Nate, come here again. That's not how it works. And also, they're down there, there's a power cut, so the blackness, the darkness wasn't really explored to its full potential, in my opinion. But in Richard Laymon's defence, I guess it's not that interesting to write about people shuffling about in the dark. Dick is short for Richard, and boy did Dick have Dick on his mind today. The most horrific thing about this book was the consistent sexual references. 253 pages, and on each and every one of them somebody is looking at someone sexually or doing something sexual or thinking about doing something sexual. It is relentless. He also uses the word rump quite a lot. Now I don't know what rump is, I've interpreted it as meaning ass, but if I never hear or see or read that word again, it won't be a moment too soon. And don't worry, I've not let you down. I have saved the best till last, or if you want to think about it like me, the worst. So that scene where somebody got eaten this much above their heads, once the creatures had gone, this woman goes over to another woman while they're like neck deep in water, and she starts grinding on her, rubbing her chest and her pussy all over her, and this woman has to push her away. For the love of God, Dick, for the last time, come here while I have a word with you. That is not what people do. This was the same scene where they started talking just after the things had gone, instead of whispering or, as I preferred, silence. So there was a lot wrong with that scene. I don't know how it got past an editor. I don't know how an editor didn't say, oh, Richard, come here a minute. I don't know how an editor didn't say, Richard, see this bit here that I've circled in angry red ink? You're going to need to take another look at that. And by take another look, I mean completely fucking redo it. By the way, this book was published under a pen name, Richard Kelly. He had to change the last name. He couldn't change the Dick name, could he? He had to leave a bit of Dick in there. I mean, the cover art's a bit misleading as well. That looks to me like the mouth of a cave and sunlight over here, and you can see the sun rays coming through. And there's the boat there where people are entering the cave on the boat. That's not the cave that's described in this book. The cave you access through the elevator, and it's underground, and there's no mouth to it there. There's a bit that's bricked up that you have to go through, and then there's all tunnels and passages and cracks that you have to go through, and then there's the main mouth to the cave, which is bricked up as well. What's this picture? The artist must have ignored the briefing. I mean, they're not even trying at this point. So I'm going to leave you with this bit here. So there's a character who's trapped down there who is a writer, and he's thinking, oh, this has got the makings of a good story, and he's starting to piece together bits and you know, who's going to do what and how people are going to die. Here we go. Maybe the fat girl's doing it with her magic, or maybe it's the evil in all these people coming out to the surface because they're tired and frightened. Is it black magic or human nature causing the mayhem? Really play up that bit and you'll give the thing some depth. It'll look more than just a cheap horror novel. Oh, Richard, you're talking about your own cheap horror novel, trying to give it some depth that it doesn't have. God, I can't believe I sold my Darcy Coates book, The Haunting of Ashburn House. I asked to get that back. By the way, trigger warning for sexual assault. Almost happens on every page. That's it for this review. If you liked this review, or if you like some of the books that I'll be talking about in the future, then consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.